talked about reasons to close schools, even if kids there aren't sick.
Yeah, I mean, school closures, there's a lot of debate about this. There are two kinds of school closures, and most of the country is shutting the schools anyway now, so this point is behind us. I was sending out this information like 3 or 4 weeks ago, but school closures are two kinds. There's reactive school closure when there's a case in the school
Hmm.
and you close the school, and that's pretty uncontroversial. I mean, most parents, teachers, public health experts, if there's an outbreak, epidemic in the school, let's close the school. And it's been shown that if you do that, you lower the if you close the schools in an area, you lower the cumulative prevalence of the condition by about 25% and postpone the epidemic by a week or two, which is good. So reactive school closure is helpful, but it's not as good as we can do. The even better is something called proactive school closure, when you close the schools even before there's a case in the schools. For instance, you living in a mid-sized town, there's a case in the community. It's something called the community acquired case. So it's not like someone from Italy or China flew to your town, landed, had symptoms, and you diagnosed them. That would be an imported case. Maybe you could isolate that person and self quarantine the people who they connected with. No, we're talking about a situation in which someone in the community is diagnosed and we have no idea where they got it. They're like a canary in the coal mine, and if that's happening, you can be quite confident that within a week or two, it's going to be in the school. So why not close the school now, reduce the force of the epidemic by decreasing social mixing? And ironically, even though the kids aren't affected by this condition, they still can transmit the pathogen, even though they themselves aren't sick. And furthermore, one of the ways that school closure works is precisely because it compels the parents to stay home. So it reduces the parents interacting with each other. That's how it works in part.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah,
it sounds like we've basically done this pretty well. Maybe a little later than you wanted to, but it sounds like now we're there, right?
definitely later than we wanted to. And for schools that are still open, what I would strongly recommend, and my wife and I had an article in the Atlantic about this a few days ago, is if you insist on staying open, and I don't think that's the best course of action, at least you can implement a whole host of other harm mitigation strategies. For example, give parents the choice. If they want to keep their kids home, they should stay home. I want to mention this because it's also relevant to employers and workers. Allowing any worker who can work at home to work at home is not just good for that worker from like their selfish point of view. It helps everybody because you reduce the number of people at the office. So only the people that have to be there should be there. Same with schools. If some parents want to keep, the school should let them keep their kids home. You can broaden drop off and pickup hours. So not everyone is arriving between 8 and 8:15 to drop off their kids, bumping against each other as they come through the door, parents interacting. Let's say you give a 45-minute drop off. It needs a bit more manpower on the part of the school, but you reduce the social density at pickup and drop off. Cancel staff meetings, provide cafeteria seating, broaden the lunch hour, and have the kids sit every other chair. These are things that schools can do if they insist on staying open, maybe in our southern states, for instance, where maybe the virus hasn't hit so much yet, but that nevertheless are helpful.
Hey everyone, we're obviously in some uncharted territory with coronavirus, and our plan here is to help you make as much sense of the situation in a non-alarmist fashion as possible. If you're looking for reliable information from experts on the front lines of the pandemic, check out our coronavirus playlist, which we'll keep adding updates to right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe.